The Callisto Protocol showed up in my Humble Bundle. It's not that bad, right? I mean, it can't be that bad, right?
Dampening the tension and adulterating the narrative core of the experience.
Be a satisfyingly gory spiritual successor to the Dead Space series, but it's ultimately more of a striking modern mimic.
But is it really that bad? Can I recommend Callisto Protocol? Let's explore that. First, some big picture stuff. Callisto Protocol was touted as a spiritual successor to Dead Space, with a lot of former Dead Space developers involved in the game, most notably Glenn Schofield as a director. It also stars Josh Duhamel, the guy you never remember what movies or shows he was in.
Oh no, no!
And in the last few years, he was in a lot. Callisto Protocol was originally planned to be part of the PUBG universe, if that is even a thing, but that idea was eventually scrapped. In 2022, the game released to mixed reviews, with a final gasp of air from DLC that came out in June 2023. Overall, the mixed reception meant that sales did not meet expectations, and we haven't really heard from the studio since. Now let's get into the game. I'm playing on PC, and I'd heard a lot of talk about performance at launch, so I was pleased to see that the game had preloading of shaders. What I was not happy to see, however, is that the game has FSR upscaling but no DLSS. I saw the exact same thing in my Saints Row video, and considering that a whopping 75% of all players on Steam have an Nvidia card, this is quite disappointing, as DLSS is by far the superior technology and it would have benefited the most PC players. But putting that aside and just focusing on how the game looks, I was not disappointed. This is easily one of the best looking games in the last few years. Josh Duhamel, Jacob Lee, is constantly sweaty and covered in goo and guts. The environments look fantastic with impressive detail, and though we are in space prison, the environments never felt too repeated, beyond reason and beyond what you would expect in a regular facility like this. Another impressive detail is the sound design. Corridors eke with the sound of busy vents, and the cinematic background horror music lends to the feel of eerie and impending danger quite well. A moment that actually truly surprised me was how lifelike it sounded when Jacob had just left water and was walking around with wet boots and pants. What's disappointing though is that those pants are a lot more interesting than the protagonist and the story combined. The game starts out fairly well, the potential was there. I'm flying in a cargo ship, then I crash land and my friend dies during the crash. I am taken into custody in the prison close to where I land, and Jacob is not pleased about it. And that is it. That is our huge story moment to kick off the game. I don't really care that the friend died. I've had no dialogue to flesh him out as a character. I don't care that Jacob Lee goes to prison, because till now, he is a blank slate with Josh Duhamel's face taped on top of it. I honestly find it incredible that they hired a famous Hollywood actor and gave him very little to work with in regards to a backstory. I don't think Josh Duhamel is the greatest actor in the world or anything, but with what little he is given in this game, I have to admit he does a good job. But a great actor cannot compensate for a lackluster script, meaning the story just ends up falling flat. The entirety of the game is spent escaping Black Iron Prison, and though they definitely make a flat attempt at spicing things up, the real story here is the prison and the environments themselves.
Jacob! You made it! I'm gonna open up the maintenance elevator. That'll get you up here, yeah?
As for the gameplay, well, some things are standard, some things are different. This is a third-person survival horror game in the vein of Resident Evil and Dead Space. You juggle inventory, walk around creepy environments, and fight monsters. With the game being a spiritual successor to Dead Space, there is no HUD on the screen. Health is displayed on Jacob himself, inventory has to be opened, and button prompts do not appear unless very close to the relevant item. This is really a strength of the game as it really helps with immersion, and for this genre specifically, this should be an industry standard. Something that Callisto Protocol does differently is the melee combat system. Honestly, I struggle to call it a system. You walk up to an enemy, you pull the joystick left, and then you dodge automatically. After that, you pull the joystick right, and you dodge automatically. And that is it. That is the melee system in a nutshell. The first hour or so, this is the only way to fight enemies, and it just deflates the whole sense of danger. The game becomes a lot more exciting once you add firearms, or this gravity glove you get. But just knowing that if the enemy gets close, you are pretty much safe, it kinda takes the wind out of the whole horror thing. Let me give you an example. This was the first time I encountered this enemy type. It's like a creepy spider monster, and the game had been building up to this encounter. The reveal was really cool. Then it gets close. What do? Well, I move left on my joystick and Jacob just automatically dodges. What's even worse with this system is that I often felt the monsters stood in line, waiting for their turn. You know how in old action movies, when the hero is fighting the bad guys and they take turns getting their asses kicked? That happened to me for the first time here, like a few hours into the game. You see here, I'm fighting one guy, and this other guy just stands there and growls dangerously. And overall, the more I played the game, the more the wrinkles started to show. The game does not have a map, which is fine. It's a linear experience. However, sometimes you will be presented with branching paths, and the level design is not clear on which way is which. Some players want to mainline the story, while others will want to see and collect everything. This choice is essentially taken away due to bad level design. Then there is the matter of the jump scares. Same tricks will be used again and again. I love a good jump scare in this genre of games, but when it happens so many times in crawling events where you cannot engage enemies, it wears thin after the fourth time within a few hours. Also dragging down the overall presentation are the weird glitches and bugs. I found nothing game-breaking, but when a game looks and sounds this good, they just stick out even more. For example, I usually play with a Scuff Instinct Pro controller. I never have issues, and for some reason in this game, it would just cause Jacob to walk backwards. I found no fix for this, and I have played with the same controller since in other games. No issue whatsoever. Other technical surprises includes monsters just waiting and hanging around, as well as this segment right here, where fighting monsters on a climbable ledge caused them to glitch up and down. In conclusion, what I find so interesting here is that the Callisto Protocol before release was considered the spiritual successor to 2008's excellent Dead Space. But in some weird twist of fate with the design choices, the bugs, the clunky inventory system and awkward melee combat, it ends up feeling like a spiritual predecessor instead. To make this feeling stick even more, the Dead Space remake released 2 months after the Callisto Protocol, which just ended up highlighting even further who is the king of third-person survival space horror. And this then brings us back to the question I asked back in the beginning of this video. Can I recommend the Callisto Protocol? Well, I guess it depends on who is asking. For the majority of you, no, I do not recommend the Callisto Protocol. But if you got this game for cheap like me, if you want a good-looking game to show, or if you're a fan of the genre, then yes, I recommend this game. Just know that till you get the first gun, combat is a bit so-so. Though I have been hard on the game for all its flaws, I really think there is potential for something special here, and I hope we get a sequel with improvements, with a more gripping story and improved mechanics. And those are my thoughts on the Callisto Protocol. Did you play it yet? What did you think? This was definitely a divisive one, and while preparing this video I changed my mind on several things more than a few times. If seeing this gameplay and hearing some info was helpful to you in any way, clicking that like button really helps support this channel. And if you like this style of video, I made another one with Saints Row that people really enjoyed. Alternatively, I recommend my video about the latest Avatar game from Ubisoft. That one caused some debate in the comments. And for more content, click my logo. See you in the next one.